Hello, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind StampedAF. I am using a fun product from the new Mini Catalogue. If you need a copy of this and you live in Canada and are not yet working with a demonstrator, I would love to send you one of these. I am going to be working with the Hot Dog stamp set, and you can see that super cute slimline card up at the top with the rainbow dogs. So I thought, okay, let's bring in something from the annual catalog. So we've got the Playful Pets Dsp, and let me tell you, this is a Slimline Fun Fold card. I have not seen a whole lot of fun folds with Slimline, but let me tell you how this idea evolved. So let me bring in another bundle. I just recently received the Lots of Heart bundle, and this is also from that same catalog, and obviously like a Valentine-y, lovey-dovey kind of bundle. It's fantastic, and this die is phenomenal. I was trying to explain in a Facebook Live a couple weeks ago how it was like a cursive row of hearts, right? Like you're writing them. And I had this cherry cobbler die just sitting around. Now I know cherry cobbler isn't the color that goes with this. It's real red, so we're going to do real red this time. But I had this sitting around, and I thought I want to be able to use this on a slimline card and not have to piece it together. So, how could I do that? So, one piece of Whisper White thick cardstock was sacrificed in the making of this because I scored it funny. And you may notice I scored a little, or cut a little bit extra on the back. We're not going to do that this time, fingers crossed. But I just loved how we had those hearts, and then I thought, okay, we're going to bring in two dogs, and the sentiment is I love you. That's the long and short of it. The long and the short, you know I love a good pun. So I have got everything I need in order to show you this. We may change up the color of the dogs this time, I'm not sure. I loved that this was a black and white theme, but I also think that a little bit of cinnamon cider would really pop on here. So we may change it up. And then I've got my slimline envelope. One lucky viewer will get their hands on one of the cards, maybe both of them. I will not be showing the envelope. I will link above to the video where I showed the dimensions for the envelope. You can see my little paw prints veer off. I mean, it's an animal. Probably saw a squirrel, but if they saw a squirrel, it'd be more like that, right? But yeah, I thought it was cute. And I have just a little bit of DSP to the back. So let me show you how to do this. I have everything I need, apparently, but the cardstock. So we'll grab a sheet of thick. And if you haven't heard already, the Whisper White line that Stampin' Up has, I mean, it's signature cardstock. It has been discontinued because the paper mill that was, I think it's proprietary, the paper mill has closed. So we now have basic white. This is actually still Whisper White. And I was watching a video earlier today, and it seems like they are like right on par with each other. And if there's one benefit to the new basic white, which I can't wait to see firsthand, it's that it doesn't have this yellow cast. So I can't wait for that. So I'm going to put my measurements where I can see them. So for this slimline card, we are going to take a piece of 8.5 by 11 inch thick cardstock. And with our paper trimmer, apparently my instructions don't want to stand, I'm going to open up the arm, and we're going to cut it on the 11-inch side at 8 3/4. You can see I cut little pieces of real red. And then we're going to take an inch off this side and bring it down to 7.5. Now, usually with any card base, you're going ahead and you're doing your center score right away. But if you do that on this card, it's not going to work because we need a couple of different score lines. So we're now going to turn it on its side, and at the 1 1/4 inch mark, and I may have to put my head in here to be able to see this, but on the right side, we are going from 2 3/4, which is on here. I'm just going to line it up. If you can see, I don't want to put it down yet because it will cut into my cardstock, but there's a ruler going down as well as across. So we're going to line it up at the 2 3/4 inch mark, or as close as we can without not having our head above it. And we're going to go down to 6 1/4. And because we don't want this to go farther than we need, and because I just thought of it, I'm going to put my finger here so that I don't go any further than that line. So well, okay, so that didn't work, but I need it to go no further than 6 1/4. Okay, so it could be hard to figure out where your finger needs to go, but you get the gist. And now, it doesn't look like that was entirely straight. Now on the other side, we can't use those same dimensions because we're going a different way. So this time we still want to line it up at that 1 1/4 inch mark. And now we're going to go from 1 1/4, so right there, to 4 3/4, which is right here. So I'll just kind of move my finger along. So right now I'm stopped at 4 1/2. I want it at 4 3/4, which is right here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but take out your own paper trimmer and have a look. Now we're going to turn it sideways. We're going to move that cutting blade right out of the way because we don't want to cut it. And then again, lining up at that 1 1/4 inch mark, we're going to score from the outside in and then move it down. And I'm not sure if you can see this, but I'm scoring from the outside to where the cut line is. And then, so this is at 6 1/4 inches. Now I'm going to move it down to 5 1/4 inches. So I was lining it up at the 1 1/4 inch side, but if you're lining it up on the left side, it's 6 1/4. So now we're at 5 1/4, and we're going to do another score line from the outside just to that cut. And I know you can't see this, but I did lift it up so that it didn't score in the middle. And now at 2 3/4, we are going to do that same score line. Now there is one more that'll be in the middle, but I wanted to get these out of the way where we're just going from the outside to that cut line. So now at the 3 3/4 mark, and I will put all these numbers in the description below so you don't have to remember all this. From the 3 3/4 mark, we are going from 7 1/2, which is where our cut line falls, to 1 1/4-ish, or where your cut line starts. Okay, so probably doesn't look like much right now, but trust me, it will. I'm going to keep these notes so that I can put those in the description. So we are done with the paper trimmer because I went ahead and I've already cut out my DSP and my label. And I will tell you, I'm so sorry, but there is some fussy cutting involved in this because if you notice, my dogs have no border. They're not stamped on there. If you would like to change it, I would just suggest taking out this back panel of DSP, stamp them right on there, or maybe stamp it on some Whisper White or Basic White because you don't want the blends coming through to that other side. So if you want to skip the fussy cutting, that is my best suggestion. Okay, so we are not bending this all the way across. I just want to give it a light score there. This one is going to come down. I know this probably looks like a hot mess right now, but that's coming down. This one's going, we're doing a valley fold, and then this one's a mountain fold. Valley, mountain. And now this is where you want to take out your bone folder because that's not cool. So now what I would do is I would fold this down, take my bone folder and really burnish that fold. And I like to do both sides at the same time. So now we can burnish this as well. And now it will go down. And then for this one, I score it underneath. Once you've made one of these, it will be so simple. And the biggest thing is when I've seen these cards in the past, when I've made them in the past, they don't always fit in an envelope, but I wanted this to be able to still fit in my slimline envelope that I had created. I actually made this for another project a few weeks ago, but went for a DSP one, and I'll link that above. That is the sweet strawberry one. Okay, so now we are ready to go. This doesn't look quite even, but that's okay because it's going to be standing up like that and it's going to be glorious. So now what we can do is start adhering our DSP. And these pieces, the sides, and remember, this is all the Playful Pets. You can use whatever DSP you want, but I found that the Playful Pets was great. So these pieces measure 2 3/8 in length by 1 1/8 in width. And I'm actually going to use liquid glue. I don't want these popping off. And it's a rather small space to get my seal in. So the way I did this was I opened it back up, and you've got a fairly thin border. So just line it up on all 4 sides. If you get any glue like I just did, give it a few minutes and then bring in your adhesive eraser. I don't recommend using an adhesive eraser when it's still wet because it makes a right mess. Okay, so just pop those little panels on there. And you could do whatever you want on these little panels. You could stamp some of the paw prints and hearts. But I just thought it was really cute. I think if you left that white, it might be a little bit too much white. It's always a fine balance. Okay, so I will use seal on this because we've got quite an area to cover. Now, I remember when I was doing my craft room tour video, and I'll link that above. Holy cards, Batman. Someone asked why I kept alcohol wipes in my stamp room. I can't multitask here, so this might actually be a little bit longer than it was the first time. So I'm going to go right up to the top. It was supposed to line up there, but my measurements must have been a little off. So someone asked why I keep these in my craft room. And I think I answered at the time, but I was using it this morning and I thought, I've got to remember to mention this. So this was getting all gummed up because I don't know if you have the same issue, but with my Stampin' Seal, far too often, it stops and I have to go and advance it. And then I get some adhesive back here and on the lid. So I took my alcohol wipe, and there's still maybe a tiny bit here. I've used it since, but it cleaned that off. So if anyone were to ask why I keep alcohol wipes in my craft room, it's adhesive-based messes usually. Now, when I cut these, I actually meant to have the same amount of black on both sides, but I wasn't paying attention, close enough attention when I did that. So these pieces are 6 inches by, was it 5/8? 5/8. And if you still have 12 by 12 of this, then the width would be the full width of the card, which is 8 3/4. I cut my DSP down to 4 by 6 and 6 by 6. Now we're going to have a tag there, so it doesn't really matter if it doesn't line up entirely because we've got this I love you, that's the long and short of it sentiment in between. And I don't need a whole bunch of glue on here because it's just a little bit that I need. That is one of the drawbacks to doing slimline cards, is that Stampin' Up! Doesn't have any dedicated slimline dies or stamps or anything like that, because I think it's still such a new trend, and Stampin' Up! Has their catalogs designed ages. Like the catalog that just came out, they've had that decided on for probably 1.5 years. So when something becomes a new trend, how do you deliver on that right away? Okay, so we still have our little red heart writing to do. We still have our stamping, and this is actually one of the hearts that is from that same Lots of Heart bundle. There's one die that cuts out a little like chain of hearts, and I did that, of course, and this is just one of them, and then I colored in between because I didn't like it just on the red and white stripes. So let me get this die out, and we'll use a piece of real red this time. And I was silly. When I did this, I did not have an adhesive sheet behind it, so I had to sit there and glue it. This time we're going to use adhesive sheet. And I'm just going to take about a 1-inch strip off of this full sheet of cardstock, maybe 1.25 inches, just to be on the safe side. Okay, and then we just need to put some of our adhesive strip on the back of that. So we'll do about 1.25 inches of that as well. I'll do 2 strips this time. Now for me, it's always a guessing game as to which side has the adhesive. This is the way you want it. You want to be able to put it down and then basically just slide. So I was thinking this week, after I had almost a little fit. One of my crafting pet peeves is having sticky fingers. If I didn't already have my business name as StampedAF, it would be something about, I hate sticky fingers or something. You know how so many people have like inky fingers and all of this stuff. Well, I have come to realize I hate having sticky fingers. I don't like being a Post-it note. So that's another area where the alcohol wipes come in. So I'm just going to put this through. Now you see that it doesn't cover the whole area. That's okay because I actually cut off a little bit on either end for my cards. Tiffany Almeida and I have teamed up again, and we've brought an extra demonstrator with us this time. We are doing a virtual stamping weekend. So it is a Galentine's Day weekend stamp camp. It is all like Valentine-y or Galentine-y themed. It is the weekend of Valentine's Day, so it starts on Friday, February 12th and goes Saturday and halfway through Sunday. We are going to have a Zoom PJ party on the Friday night. We are going to have live demonstrations on the Saturday. There's an hour between the presentation, so it's not like you're going to be stuck in front of your computer all day long. We want you to be able to go to the bathroom and eat and whatnot. There is a swag bag. There will be prizes, pillow gifts. So I'll put the link to that below. It is $65 US and $85 Canadian. And you're getting a ton of product. It'll be a fantastic weekend. We are using a few of the new sets. So the Snailed It bundle, the Kangaroo and Company. Oh my goodness, we couldn't have asked for a better fit. Now on the first one, it went white to white, but I kind of like the look of it just ending at the DSP. So let's just cut this tiny little piece off. So Kangaroo and Co. And then the Hearts and Kisses, which is that cute little one that does the lips and, whoops, the lips and the, I'm totally blanking. Let me show you. Let me show you the 4 items that we're going to be using. I'll show you quickly, if I can find them quickly. Okay. Lipstick and hearts. That's it. Sorry, lipstick. Oh my gosh. Lips and lipstick. So this is the Hearts and Kisses bundle, and it comes with this cute little punch to do a heart and the lips. That's the 2 words I was looking for. We are using the Kangaroo and Company. I'm designing with this one. I've actually already designed it, and they are so stinking cute. We are using... Sorry, the next ones are further back. The next one is actually not a bundle. It's a stamp set. You're getting a very quick flip through here, aren't you? So this one, Tiffany will be designing with the Hey Girlfriend stamp set. So up her alley. And then Sherry will be designing with the Snail Mail Suite. And you will be getting DSP, you'll be getting embellishments, you'll be getting ribbon. It's going to be fantastic. So I'm not sure why I'm still flipping through there, but it's going to be great. I will put the link to sign up below. If you have any questions, you can contact me, stampedaf@gmail.com. Okay, so now here comes the more difficult parts of this project. So I have a piece, I've already die cut my tag here. And I'm using Whisper White Thick. Usually I wouldn't do that, but we need to do our sentiment and we need to stamp the dog. So let's just do it on this piece because I don't think they'll fit on here. So for the sentiment, I'm using the I love you. That's the long and short of it. But if you notice, I did 2 different colors. Now, to get 2 different colors, you could simply just do a marker to stamp technique, right? But the spacing on this doesn't really fit well on here. I mean, it could. Oh, that's not the right one. I'm thinking there's no way it fit on there the first time. I wouldn't have gone through all that. That one said, I miss you. This one says, I love you. So now if we try that again, it doesn't quite fit on there. So what I did was I took some of my purple tape. Thank you, Pauline. I need to order some more. And I'm going to cover up the letters on the bottom. I'm going to ink it up with my real red, and I could just use a marker. I'm going to try not to get too much on the tape itself, but I do want to ink up all the letters. So I'll peel that off, and now I'm going to stamp I love you. It's a different little font, isn't it? Okay, I'll flip that. Hopefully it didn't smudge. And I want to clean it off really well because I'm not going to be stamping in the same spot. So I don't want any red on there. I don't want like a shadow or a halo. So now I'm just going to wipe off any red that's on there. And now I'm going to cover the I love you. And I'll bring in my memento. And this one's a lot easier to just stamp the actual letters that you're stamping. Remember to take off the tape. Most important part of masking is to take that off, right? So now we want this to just fit on there. So that's the long and short of it. But do you see what I mean about not wanting any red on there? Perfect. So the key to that is having some kind of tape, but also cleaning it really well in between. So now we can stamp our dogs. And I'm not sure why I'm closing that one. It's that one that I need, not the real red. I watched a video by Tina Wardell about how to color fur that looks a little more realistic. Now, it doesn't have to be perfectly realistic, but a little bit more so. So I am going to do the same techniques that I did after watching her video. And oh, I did get a little bit of a smudge there. I really wanted to have one dog sitting and one dog standing. Oh, I have the little piece of fluff there. Still on there. Better. So I had stamped the other one. This was my practice dog. Isn't it cute? Kind of reminds me of a very short, like Weimaraner. I'm not sure if that's how you say it, but I know that we caught the end of Jeopardy the other day and someone lost all his money because he pronounced it wrong. Okay, and then for the other one, we want the dog that is facing this one. I love that out of the 3 dogs, 2 are facing one way and 1 is facing the other. No reverse or mirror stamping. And you don't need to do them super close unless, look, this guy's like up on his hind legs, unless you're doing it where you're just stamping it on one thing and you're not fussy cutting. And I will zoom through that fussy cutting so you don't have to sit here and watch paint dry. So I also want to put, there's a little bow for this dog. I'm thinking that one's the boy sitting down on the job, but he kind of has a more masculine collar, so I did this cute little bow on the female. Isn't she cute? Okay, so one of the best things Tina showed in her video was basically cast shadow. So put something down and decide where the shadow would fall. Now, when I'm coloring, I tend to think that the sun is over here, so the shadow is always going to be like on the fronts of things. You could have it where it's right above, and I guess sometimes I think of it as coming in both ways. Now, this back leg is going to be dark no matter what. Same with this one. I'm hoping I can color these well, but since I'm recording, that'll be the time it doesn't, right? Now we're going to come in because his leg would be extending there. Would be a bit of a shadow along his belly. A little bit of shadow there. And I mean, I'm just learning this. If you want to watch Tina's video, you'll probably learn a ton. There'll be some shadow there. And don't overthink it. I mean, it should still be fun. Okay, and then we'll come in with our light. And one thing that I find always helps is to take a step back away from it when you're working too close. it can be hard to see the detail. So take a step back, stand up, look at it as if you're the recipient, not the creator. Okay, now one thing she did show was to do some stippling. So I think we'll do that with the copper. Now this is a very different brown, but I think we'll go in and we'll darken that up. Doesn't she look so much cuter like that? Like a little more realistic. Okay, and then for this guy, we're going to do some spots. So I'm going to give him kind of a circle around his eyes, and I am using the dark. I'll give him one on his chest, just a smaller one. And again, those back legs are going to be darker. We'll give him one big spot on his back. And don't worry about it being perfect. Okay, and then we are going to, we're going to bring in the color lifter, but I also want light gray granite, and that's where we're going to go in and kind of give him some shadow. I don't want it to be too dark. Maybe I should put some cinnamon cider on his tail and a little bit on his ear. Can't have a spotless ear. Just put a little bit at the end. And then if we want to tone down this shadow, we'll just use color lifter. If you want to bring in just a little bit more detail, because this black line from the stamp stops, just bring in the fine point of your Stampin' Right marker, and then that will help to extend. And you'd never know. Okay, oh, I want that back for the noses. And we are going to give her a real red, oops, a real red ribbon. I'm not going to do any blending on this because it's just too small. The first time around, I did add some cherry cobbler to the inside of the bow. Not sure you can even tell that. Let's give it a shot. I did do that the first time, so, because this part would be darker. And then one little bit of dark Mango Melody for his tag. He's fancy. He's got a gold tag. So how stinking cute is that? And just a little bit of extra blending. As a final step, if you want to bring in just a tiny bit more, you could use your chalk marker and just kind of go over the back. You won't see it right away. It needs a second to work. Now here it would be on his front, a little bit on the ear. It's just cute. Okay, so now I am ready to fussy cut, and I am just going to speed my way through that. I would recommend that you don't do it on Whisper White thick. It does make it a little trickier to cut it out. Now the final thing we are going to do, the final thing before we adhere it to our card, is I am just going to go around those cut edges with my basic black marker. And if you notice, I am going from behind. I have found that if I try doing this from the front, I am far too likely to slip and color on my image where I don't want it. This way, my marker stays, if I'm going to mess it up, like if my marker slips, it's going to slip on the back. And then if there are spots where maybe you couldn't get in quite as close as you'd like, just color those parts black. Because there are little spots on here where if I had gone too close, I risk cutting it off. Like in here, I'm just going to go in and color that. I could have probably done it red instead, but remember, go from the back. There's sometimes where I'm like, oh yeah, wrong way. See? So I want this guy, girl, standing on those hearts. We're going to leave a little bit of space in between. So I thought I had a heart over here, but I'm just going to place this here as a placeholder. Oh, that one's cherry cobbler. That's okay. You won't tell, will you? So now this is another one of those cherry cobbler ones where I don't have any adhesive on it. So I will just add a little bit. Now I know this card takes some time, but it's just so worth it, isn't it? And how fun is it to do a fancy fold on a slimline card? So do you see what I mean? It's just a little too busy with those stripes showing. So let's bring in our dark real red, and this does not show. Oh, that's where that went. It does not show through, but that's because I didn't stay in the same area for too long. So that is all. Let me know in the comments below which two dogs you prefer. Do you prefer the gray? I was going to say gray and white, but he's not really white anymore. Do you prefer the gray or the cinnamon cider? And if you create this, I would love to see your version. If this has inspired you to try a slimline fun fold like this, again, I'd love to see your creation. You can email it to me at stampedaf@gmail.com. You can post it on my Facebook page. And if this was your first time here, BT dubs, welcome. I hope you will consider hitting that subscribe button below. You will catch a new video each and every week. And we will see you soon, my crafty friends. Bye.